Hi everyone, welcome back to Ibrox. Rangers 3, Dundee 0. A scoreline, Chris, that doesn't, I think it reflects Rangers' control. It doesn't reflect a game that didn't always feel that comfortable.
You're going to say 3-0 flatters Rangers, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I predicted it, so no, I'm not.
I think we both did. We're both actually spot on. For
Nice
for large parts of it, I didn't see a 3-0 victory coming. Even after it went 2, I didn't think they would go in and get the third. But no doubts who the more worthy recipients of the points were. I don't think Dundee can have any complaints about leaving here empty-handed. They can maybe feel that it wasn't a 3-0 game, but all the chances, all the play, all the kind of attacking intent, all came from Rangers. So wasn't a comprehensive 3-0 win, but you certainly, if you end up with another 15 or so, if you get 15 like that, then nobody will be complaining at all.
Yeah, we're going to try and bring you this post-match reaction as long as our tripod stands up, because it's not the best conditions in the west of Scotland. The game for me, Chris, Dundee didn't have I think they had 2 shots in the box. Jack Bilton didn't have a save to make. And but it felt like especially in the first half, the way that they set up and they went man for man, and they're actually quite aggressive. Rangers didn't have many answers for that, and the first half played out in quite a frustrating fashion. I still think that's the type of game that Rangers' 2 real weaknesses at the moment is that they don't have the tools, whether that's individually or tactically, to play through that type of pressure, or the physicality at the top end maybe to exploit the space. And then in the second half, again, something that we've spoken about so often, they miss someone who, as Danny Rule says, a decision making in the final pass to make that game 2 or 3-0 earlier on. However, they do get the win, which I guess is important. If we take the second half in isolation, I thought they got the rewards for starting the second half intensely, because it's obviously 0-0 at half time. Ibrox has the potential to get a bit edgy. Let's say, how many games have you seen Rangers here where it gets to 60 minutes and they think, well, if we better go into second or third gear? To be fair to them, I thought they started the second half pretty aggressively. They get the penalty, and although again it still wasn't fluid from then and there were still some nervy moments without Dundee having a shot really, in hindsight it's a game that they do deserve to win.
I think that goal came at a good time. I think that's safe to say. It was a penalty from my vantage point up there. I think it's a fairly clear penalty. Keeper gets a hand on it, but 100 up for James Tavernier. I'm sure we'll touch on him before we finish. It felt like that kind of lifted a lot of pressure off this place. People weren't getting overly angry and upset and anxious during the first half. It was just a bit 45 minutes almost past everybody. It just wasn't the afternoon that we thought and assumed that it would be. A bit of momentum and a bit more for the crowd and a bit more from the team. First 45 was a bit of a non-event, so the first goal certainly came at a really good time. Rangers comfortable without looking overly clinical, then get their goals late on. So I think the manager summed it up quite well in his press conference, which people can also go and watch on the site, or go and read on the site as well. I think he's still looking for a bit more in the final third, isn't he? And as you touched on there, whether that comes from individuals being able to enhance their game, whether it comes from him doing different things tactically, or whether it comes from actually going and spending a bit more money and bringing another forward player into the squad. I know what the easiest option is, just to go and throw a couple of pound at it. I think that it's 90 minutes that will build this narrative of Rangers are probably still another option short in the final third.
I just wanted to talk, the two things obviously are connected. How Rangers attack plays into how they defend. What was interesting to me was, for elements of that first half, it was Dundee who more obviously pressed more aggressively because they left Bojan Miovski, one man marked him, whereas Rangers kept Giga and Fernandez as 2. And I think what Rule is doing is as he has done this whole time, he's fixing problems, he's compensating, and he's going, do you know what, maybe we aren't going to kill these games off, maybe I don't, maybe I'd rather be a little bit more secure and win games late on. And that's another clean sheet today, and after 8 wins in a row you can't say there's not evidence that his approach isn't working. But then at points that still leads to moments in the final third where you're going, it's just a bit of a lack of incision. Andreas Skov Olsen should help. He looked like a player who hadn't played since November 7th today. I'm sure those minutes will help him. It wasn't a glistening debut, but to be fair, he played a part in the opener. He also created an offside goal. I think it was offside for Toshi Chukwani, the other debutant today. aside from that, any individuals stand out? I thought Manny Fernandez was good and James Tavernier was good as he scored his 100th league goal.
I thought Davy Edgar summed it up in the press conference. He picked out Fernandez and Mikoma, both of whom I thought were good. Tav doing Tav things, as people say. Now he steps up and now he puts the penalty away. Really, as I touched on there, a really big moment. If that didn't go in, again it changes the mood round a bit here. So fair play to him for him to be able to step up in that moment. 100 league goals is quite a record, and again the manager spoke a wee bit about him in the press conference and praised his leadership both on and off the park. It's not been a vintage James Tavernier season, I think that's safe to say. He has had his critics at times, but clearly still playing a huge part in this side and still leading the scoring charts as well with 6 at this stage. If that doesn't sum up the need to go and add a bit more firepower, then nothing will.
Anything else to touch upon the game before we look forward? It's the last week of the transfer window. Danilo scored, Gisama scored a great goal. Tello Asgard, I thought, a good first half. You're still less on the Tello Asgard train than me.
Yes, I am, but he's doing his bit to prove me wrong every week. Don't think it was his best today, but in the first half at least, he looked like he could create something when very few others did. I thought Danilo took his goal well, which was good to see. How many more chances he'll get to do that remains to be seen. Gisama took his goal well. He is very good at that kind of finish. If he could do it more often and add a wee bit more to his game, that'd be great. But it's a nice goal from him. So do we have to talk transfers now?
Yeah, so we're going to look forward. The transfer window closes a week tomorrow. You'll be looking forward to that. Me too. We're obviously going to speak about it right throughout the week on the YouTube channel, and obviously all the latest reporting will be on the website, which people can get over there. We're still expecting Rangers to be active. To summarise where we're up to in the conversation up until now, if the first half of the window, and this is how it's been put to me, it was about proactivity, then the last half is more about reactivity. Now, that's not to say that Rangers are kind of just sitting with their feet up and waiting for a player to come in. I think what it means is that they won't spend money for money's sake, but there is an expectation that maybe a certain player will arise, because clearly there's still the need for two profiles. One is a bit of creativity in the midfield, someone to put the foot on the ball and control things and get you out of pressure and keep you in the opposition's half. And the other thing, most obviously, is another goal threat. I don't think Bojan Miovski had a great game. I thought he actually did okay physically in the air, but I still think there is another attacking profile that is needed there, and that's the other area that Rangers, if they are going to add, will add in. Is it fair to ask you what you expect, or do you think that kind of proactive, reactive balance sums up where we are heading into this last week? Obviously, as well with the added element of Rangers are still trying to get players out too.
I think that sums up what we've said on videos and what we reported on the site over the last week or so. We did a couple of state of play pieces kind of laying out what has been done and why it's been done, and now what could be done and why they want to go and do that particular business. I think something in the final third is obviously the priority. If they could do a forward and a midfielder, I think that goes down as a very, very successful transfer window. There are players that are not going to play an awful lot in the second half of the season that could be moved on. Frees up a bit of squad space, frees up a bit of wages, but they're not in a situation where they have to sell before they can go and buy. I think that the business they've done, the money they've spent, shows the intention from the board and the executive here. They want to go and try and win this league. They're going to do everything they can. And as you say there, it's not a case of either being reactive by, well, they're going to sit and they'll watch Sky Sports News and see, oh, somebody's allowed to leave a Premier League club, do you fancy them, let's go for it. It's now they've got themselves in the situation. They've got 3 good players in. They're going to make a difference to the team. It's now just that final piece of the jigsaw. We know that the last week is going to be fairly hectic. Things can move very quickly. There's situations right across the continent that Rangers are shopping in. Players can be told at very short notice, like, your future's not here. That then opens up a potential avenue for Rangers to move. So I do expect that there will be business both in and out. How much, I'm not going to say, because then when it doesn't happen, people come back and shout at me.
Yeah, but we can't ignore as well the kind of overall optics of the league today. Rangers go second, 2 points ahead of Celtic, 4 points behind Hearts. There is a league there to be won, and I agree with you. I think that doing 3 bits of business by early January is impressive. I still look at that team and think it is missing another attacker, someone who can play across forward positions. Maswinise is obviously a name that is, I think just so many people think, would that make sense? I'm maybe one of those people. As we've been speaking about this week, no indication that there's any contact there at this moment in time. But that type of profile, someone who's maybe not an out-and-out number 9, but who, as Rule said at a recent press conference, can give him a bit more versatility across the front line and is a goal threat, because, again, up until injury time today, I think you are lacking a couple of natural goal scorers at risk of running a football cliche. But a good day for Rangers, because they do, to finish off, go to 4 points behind Hearts. It's huge games coming up in February. But listen, if you'd said after the game away at Hearts on December 21st that they win their next 6 league games, you'd have taken that and you'd have probably not been believed.
I probably scoffed at the very suggestion after that.
You probably did.
I don't think there's many people left Tynecastle that day or watched that game in Tynecastle and thought Rangers are going to be in this title race. I think people all but not threw in the towel at that stage, but it looked a tall order at that time. You have to say the job that Danny Rule has done to haul this squad and this club and the support back into the title race is quite something. Is that enough to get them over the line? I'd like another striker just to make sure, but it's so close to call. I don't think anyone can say Rangers are favourites or Celtic are favourites or Hearts are favourites in the next few weeks. I know we always can take tranches of matches and say they're really important, but the next one is even more important than the last week group of games that will just come through. Hearts to come here, Celtic to come here early March. You've got Hibs away next weekend. Every game is just huge. How long can Rangers keep this run going on for? If 8 can become 12, it puts them in a really strong position. If 8 becomes 15, then they're going to be right in amongst it. So time will tell.
Time will tell. Something tells me we'll be speaking to you a lot this week. So thanks as ever for keeping up with the Rangers Review. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, really helps us, and head over to therangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to access the best Rangers journalism first over there every single day. We'll speak to you in the morning. Until then, bye for now.